Hello, I'm Toby Lynn with the mortgage firm, and my goal always is to bring value to you. And I have a very special guest right now to talk to us about bankruptcy and options and where somebody might stay with that. Mark Martella is going to speak with us. And Mark, this has been his world for 30 years. So Mark, I'm sure you've seen quite a few changes over the years. And I've been thinking that as COVID has impacted everybody, some financially, some not, that this might be a time for people to maybe be considering what their options might be depending on hardships that they might be experiencing at this point. So as a result of what's going on, can you tell me where you think we're going to be moving forward with people looking into what their options are about a bankruptcy?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for letting me be on with you. And so it's really been an interesting year for everyone, but for those of us in the world of bankruptcy, believe it or not, things have been slow through 2020. And the reason for that is basically because of the moratorium. So with no foreclosures, basically for the most part, people file Chapter 13s to save their home when they fall behind on the mortgage. And we'll talk about the options in the Chapter 13. But you file a Chapter 13. Well, last year, Chapter 13s were down 55%.
Wow.
That's a big chunk of business. And then as far as Chapter 7s, which we refer to as a liquidation, there was 3 or 4 months, I know here in Charlotte County, where there were no credit card complaints filed. So all the creditors were giving forbearances and allowing people to carry things on, letting interest accrue without pursuing them. So everything was way down in 2020 in the world of bankruptcy. However, what the bankruptcy courts are anticipating and what bankruptcy practitioners are anticipating is there's this pressure building, and that once these moratoriums are lifted, to quote one judge, there's going to be a tsunami of filings because the creditors have to make money and they have to start pursuing these people. So we're anticipating probably June or July for really things to pick up. Because again, assuming the moratorium's end the end of February, again, we have a new administration coming in. Who knows? Maybe they'll carry it another 6 months. We don't know. So it's partly an artificial holding back of everything because of the government moratoriums, but eventually something's going to hit, and there's going to be an influx of bankruptcy filings.
Okay. Before I keep asking you questions, I wanted everybody to know at the end of this, I'm going to tell you how to get a copy of Mark's book. You can download it, and it's Bankruptcy in Plain English. As I said, he has been an expert in this for 30 years. And I thought I would also mention how I have changed my feelings about bankruptcy. I am in my 34th year in the mortgage business. And when I first started, I thought, oh my gosh, that would be the last thing, that anybody would want to do. And I just thought that was terrible. And I have really changed my opinion about it, mostly because bankruptcy is caused for so many reasons, medical, just so many different reasons. And I've worked with home buyers who want to be home buyers that we're having the same conversation in 2 years that we had 2 years ago because they're trying so hard to catch things up and improve on their credit and all that. And sometimes bankruptcy is just the only way I have found for people to get a lease back on life again. And if you're watching this and considering the mortgage requirements for a bankruptcy is If you have filed a Chapter 7 for a FHA loan, it's 2 years from discharge. A Chapter 13 is 12 months and still active in the Chapter 13. And if you're a eligible veteran or active duty, with VA, it's also 2 years. Conventional mortgage is 4 years from the date of discharge. Mark, would you please explain the difference between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13?
Before I do that, though, I just want to follow up on your comments, because there are so many myths out there about how bankruptcy ruins your credit forever. You'll never be able to buy a house, when the opposite is true. And I didn't even know until we had, I think maybe you were on my radio show,
Yeah.
that I knew about the 12 months in a Chapter 13. I mean, that's so amazing. And you know what happens, as you said, people are in this debt and they want to try to get out of it, but the numbers just don't work because the interest rate is so high, because maybe they had a missed payment. So now they're paying 25% interest, and they're never, you know, it's going to take them 20 years
To dig
to
out.
pay it all. And they just have to, you know, make that decision. I ask people, you know, when they say to me they really don't want to do it, how are you going to get out of this debt in 5 years? Because in a Chapter 13, I can guarantee you'll be out of this debt in 5 years. In a Chapter 7, as short as 4 months. So let's talk about the differences. So Chapter 7 is what we refer to as a liquidation. But basically, whether it's a 7 or 13, you get to keep a certain amount of exempt assets. But in a Chapter 7, you'll file your petition, you have a creditors meeting. The issue is, what is your non-exempt assets? If all your assets are exempt, great, you're going to get your discharge in 4 months from filing, 120 days. In a Chapter,
What would a non-exempt asset be?
so for example, here in Florida, what do you get to keep? That's basically what your exemptions are. So the best exemption we have here in Florida is the homestead exemption. It exempts your home and any equity that you have in it. So if you have a $300,000 house and you owe $100,000 in credit card debt, they can't touch it, whether you're in bankruptcy or not. When you claim the homestead exemption, your other exemptions are limited. You get a $1,000 exemption towards personal property. And personal property is basically everything that's not real estate. So your clothes, your furniture, jewelry, cash, stocks, and bonds. And you get a $1,000 exemption towards equity in a vehicle. So $2,000 worth of stuff. If you have a 401k, an IRA, if it's properly set up, that is also exempt. If you're not claiming a homestead exemption, you get an extra $4,000 exemption towards personal property. So you get to keep $6,000 worth of stuff. If you're over that $6,000, let's say you have $12,000 worth of stuff, we subtract $6,000, that's $6,000 of extra stuff. Either you can turn over to the trustee, or we can enter into a stipulation if you're in the Fort Myers division over 12 months to buy it back at $500 a month, and you get to keep everything. Even if you do a 12-month stipulation, you're going to still get your discharge in 120 days. Once you get your discharge, now you're starting to rebuild your credit. What's amazing, people don't realize it. They don't believe me when I say, you know, it's going to help your credit. We have people file. 2 weeks after they file, they're sending me advertisements they're getting to buy a new car. Once they get to discharge, they're getting inundated with offers for credit cards, some secured credit cards, some low balance amounts, but you're going to rebuild your credit. A Chapter 13 we would use, well, 2 reasons. Congress, in cohorts with the credit card companies and car financing companies, changed the law in 2005 to make it harder to file a Chapter 7. And basically, they said if you make more than the median income for a family of your size, you can't file a 7. You have to file a Chapter 13. So, for example, here in Florida, if you make more than $52,000 a year, you have to file a Chapter 13.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You have to. Now, the other reason you would file a Chapter 13 may be because you have non-exempt assets that you need to keep. We see this a lot with older people that have a paid-off car. So they may have an $18,000 asset that they need to keep, but they still have $30,000, $40,000 in credit cards. But so they can keep the car, we file a Chapter 13, and that $18,000 in equity they can pay off over 60 months or $300 a month. But the main reason, as I said earlier, is more often we file a Chapter 13 to save somebody's home.
Okay.
There's two ways we can do it in a Chapter 13. One, we can take the arrears and just spread that out over 60 months. And at the end of the 60 months, you're current and you get to keep your house. So say, for example, you're $30,000 in arrears. We would propose a plan where you make your regular mortgage payment, taxes and insurance, and then that you pay an extra $500 a month. All this goes through the trustee, and the bank can't object. They have to accept it on the bankruptcy code. So that's one way to save your home. The other way is to do a modification using the bankruptcy's mortgage modification mediation program. And the good thing with that is, first of all, even if you've been denied before, you can still do it. And the most important thing about bankruptcy, the best benefit you get is the automatic stay. So if you're facing foreclosure and your property is about to go to sale, if you file a bankruptcy petition, it stops that case. It cancels that sale. Now, either you do the repayment over the 60 months, or you can use the modification provisions. Now, what's neat about the modification provisions in the bankruptcy code is that what we do is, since we don't know what your modified payment would be, we take 31% of your gross income and use that as your proposed bankruptcy mortgage payment. Adequate protection payment is the term. And then you go through the process. And here's the nice thing, the difference between doing it through bankruptcy versus trying to do it on your own or through the state courts is the biggest problem is people complain, oh, I've given them my tax return 6 times, I've given my bank statement 6 times, they lost it. There's 27 different people I'm dealing with every time. With the bankruptcy portal, everything gets uploaded to one spot. So the mediator sees it and the judge can see it. So the bank can't say, hey, we didn't receive it. And then once everything is uploaded per the instructions of the lender, they have 30 days to respond. Basically, as long as you show you have the income, they're going to respond. The only time I have had it denied is where they just didn't have the income. Again, you have to have enough income to at least support a minimum mortgage payment, taxes, and insurance. But if you have that, you fell behind because of an illness or lost a job, and you've been denied, and the mortgage modification process through bankruptcy is a great option as well.
At what point do you think somebody should start considering if they maybe should or should not even consider and call you to see if that is an option?
Well, let's take a typical case of credit card debt.
Okay.
And you basically got to do the numbers. And here's what I tell people. On your credit card statements, it shows you how to pay things off in 3 years. So take all your credit card statements, figure out what those payments are over 36 months. And if you can't afford that, if you're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, it's time for you to file bankruptcy.
What about medical collections? Those would be considered?
Well, I'm saying yes. I mean, you include that in there as well. But I'm saying that's an easy thing that everybody can do. Now, the problem is people don't have the discipline. But if you can make that monthly payment over 36 months, be disciplined, and not use your credit cards.
Right.
That's one way to avoid bankruptcy. But once you're falling behind, you're getting collection calls, it's really time to consult with a bankruptcy attorney. Unfortunately, I'd say half my clients don't come to see me until after they've been sued or after their wages have been levied on or a bank account has been levied on, or they're calling me because their car is being towed out of their driveway because they didn't make payment. So the more proactive you can be. And look, when people call me, they already know they should be filing. It's the psychological hurdles that they have to try to get by.
And I do think that's one of the biggest things. I know I have referred several people to you because they've called me for a mortgage. And as I look at their credit situation and their income situation, I know there's no way, that we're going to get a mortgage in the next couple of years. And that sometimes is a point, depending on what they've got going. What about defaulted student loans? Somebody cannot bankrupt those, can they?
You can't discharge student loans, but there's a lot more programs now for income-based repayment plans. The challenge is, though, with the interest, I've seen unbelievable student loans. I have one client who has $600,000 in student loans.
Ooh. Are they a surgeon or?
No, and it's because they game the system, but because they just give them money, as long as you keep going to school, but they're using it to pay a car or pay their house payment, okay. And now they have this debt that they'll die with.
Okay. So, and I also know that people I think I sent somebody to you just last week, and one of the conversations was, well, I don't want to lose my car. I need my car. And obviously you're the big expert on that. And I told them it, might be something that you can keep. And
so here's the thing, as long as they're current on their car payments and they can afford to keep making the payments, then they're fine with, they'll keep their car. If they have equity in it, and they can't buy it back, well, then they may not be able to keep their car. But there's a couple of different programs out there designed specifically for people in bankruptcy, where we can send you to them. They will get you pre-approved based upon your income, knowing that you're going to get a discharge, and they will ship a car to you, maybe a 1 or 2 year old car with a warranty, at a payment that you can afford. So many people have ridiculous car payments because they've rolled over and rolled over. People making $40,000 a year cannot afford a $600 car payment.
Right.
My rule of thumb for everybody, say your car payment should not be more than 5% of your gross monthly income. But nobody's that low. It's whatever the car dealer can get you into, and you got to. I always tell people, car dealer is not your friend. They don't have your best interest in mind. You need to go in there knowing what you can afford and making that your limit and putting down as much as you can, and never, ever buy a new car.
I'm telling you, I was working with somebody just maybe last month that when I pulled up the credit based on the income that they have and looked at the brand new car payment that they had, I just couldn't even believe that the dealer would have done that. It was just a recipe for a problem.
It's unconscionable, but they don't care because they're getting paid at that time. I have a client that I've been working with a year, a couple. And, it's hard for people, it's like getting paperwork out of people and stuff. And so we finally got there where we're getting everything together. And he says, oh, I got a new truck. Send us the payment. $1,200, more than his mortgage payment. I'm at the point now, I told you I'm doing this over 30 years. I call it as I see it. I said, you can't afford this. You got to give it up. And since I told him, because the trustee's not going to allow it, and I haven't heard from him since I told him he has to give up his truck.
Yeah, I hear that as well. Are there any important, just general points for whoever is watching this that maybe I haven't asked you?
Well,
let me ask you this. How long does it take? So somebody contacts you, and how long does the process take? How much does it cost? I don't know if that's a fair question or not, because I know when somebody asks me about a mortgage, it's an it depends, kind of answer. What should somebody have in their mind as expectations?
Okay, well, actually, the fees are pretty easy because they're set by the court.
Oh.
They may differ by $100 here and there, but basically, Pretty much the standard approved fee for a Chapter 7 is $1,700. Filing fee is $335. They have to go for 2 credit counseling courses, plus we would get a copy of the credit report. For an individual, you're looking at around $2,150 for a Chapter 7.
Okay.
For Chapter 13, the upfront costs are the same. There are additional legal fees, but that gets paid out over the 60 months. If they don't make their payments, we don't get paid. So either way, you're looking at around, $2,200 for a couple. It's not twice the price for the couple. It's only like $25 more for the credit counseling. So you're looking at around $2,200 to get filed.
Okay. And how long does it take? They call you, they get you the documents, you are filing. How long does this process take?
From 60 days to 6 years. It really depends upon the client.
Okay.
So what when I meet with somebody, I will give them a package, a questionnaire, very similar to a mortgage app, only probably more detailed. And I say, you have to give me that back with, the supporting documentation. And I tell them, we need about 45 to 60 days from when you give us your information to get you a draft. Once you get that draft filed, we can get you filed in a week. Now, inevitably, as you know, when they give you the package back, there's going to be additional things that we need and clarifications and stuff. But depending upon the client and how diligent they are, we can get a petition done in 60 days. Once we get it filed, 30 days after we file, whether it's a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13, we have a creditors meeting. That's where we meet with the trustee. Right now, we're doing them via telephone. That makes it nice instead of having to go to either Tampa or Fort Myers. And as I said, in a Chapter 7, you're going to get your discharge 120 days after we file you, even if you have a 12-month stipulation. Now, with Chapter 13, the Chapter 13 repayment plan will be anywhere from 36 to 60 months. Once you complete those payments, you'll get your discharge, usually in about 90 days after you complete your payments, because then the U.S. trustee has to review everything. But it's a solution to your credit problems. And the one thing I would like to warn people about are these debt relief agencies.
Oh, yeah.
If you have maybe $5,000 worth of debt, maybe they can help you. But what they don't tell you is that, they're going to propose a payment plan. And if you have 10 credit cards, they're going to pay off the lowest credit card first, after they've taken their fees out of what you paid. So by the time you get to that 10th credit card, the 9th credit card, it might be 2 years from now, they've already sued you. And they're chasing for a judgment. I have yet to really see a client who's been helped by those. I know there are people that are helped by them, and I think
some of them are such scams too. The consumer just pays and pays and pays. And I have worked with so many people over the years that some of them are just a scam. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually.
And it's been so horrible that now the trustees are pursuing these agencies to try to get the money back. Yep.
Good. Well, when we post this, your contact information will be showing, but just in case somebody's listening to this and maybe not watching it, would you please say your contact info for them to be able to either just contact you directly to inquire about their position for bankruptcy, and also to be able to download your book?
So easiest, my phone number is 941-206-3700. You can go to the firm website, icardmerrill.com, and then go to my page for not only a link to the book, but also links to some free special reports. I have a free special report on the bankruptcy mistakes. I have a free special report on foreclosures. So please download them for free, get your information, and we offer a free consultation for those type of cases. So please don't hesitate to give us a call, 941-206-3700. We do it via phone, via Zoom. or in person, socially distanced with masks on as well.
And you can help anybody in the state of Florida?
Well, I can help anybody in the Middle District of Florida. And the Middle District runs basically from Naples to Jacksonville, but basically my client area is Naples to Tampa. Okay,
that's a pretty big area. I'm also going to say, if you want a copy of my book, which is all about FHA and VA lending, you can also download this for free. If you go to theperfectmortgagesolution.com, you can download that. And in this book, where I do talk about bankruptcy, I have Mark's contact information in it. I personally close loans in Georgia and Florida. And in Georgia, I have Maya's contact information as well. Mark, thank you so much. You're always such a great wealth of information, in addition to me just always enjoying talking with you.
Well, same here. My pleasure.
I hope this has been helpful, and you know who to call. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.